Content warning. Paradox Live includes themes of trauma, child abuse and neglect, violence, suicide, death, human experimentation, and gang activity. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey there, heads. I hope you're all doing alright, and welcome back to another video. As we celebrate the 4th Paradox Live anniversary, let's dig into the events of the exhibition show, a 4-album special released between the Family and Love stage battles. During this event, each unit released 2 new songs, 1 unit song and 1 collaboration song featuring a real-world vocalist. Bay's unit song was Freak Out, and their collaboration song was Paradise featuring Issa. The Cat's Whiskers unit song was Life is Beautiful, and their collaboration song was My Sweetest Love featuring Mitchell Kazuma. Cosmos' unit song was Back Off, and their collaboration song was Good Time featuring Sky High. And Akanyatsura's unit song was Rebellion, Akanyatsura is Still Burning, and their collaboration song was Emperor, We on Fire, featuring Kumi Koda. In addition to these new tracks, the 4-album release featured a 4-part drama that followed non-competition interactions between different characters and units. The first drop-up begins with Yohei doing inventory of Bar 7-4. He's interrupted by the ring of the door opening, but rather than a wayward customer, he finds Iori walking in. He invites Iori to have some coffee with him, having learned to use a Nel drip from Simon, and as they drink, Iori asks about the bar's owner. Yohei reveals that Simon has gone to visit the grave of his late wife, Tsubaki. Iori mentions that he's surprised Yohei didn't toss out the Maneki Neko from the Suiseki Gumi boss, but Yohei says that it's thanks to both the old man and Iori that he was able to pursue music. Iori, being emotionally constipated, tells Yohei to stop being cringy, and changes the subject swiftly to ask about how Yohei got into music in the first place. Yohei explains that it all started when he was seeking shelter from the rain, and after ducking into Bar 7-4, he met Simon. And her. Meanwhile, Simon was at Tsubaki's gravesite, tenderly speaking to his wife and telling her what he and Yohei have been up to. He tells her that Yohei has grown up since he was the wild youth that they took under their wings, and he reminisces on the Buraikan concert that the 3 of them had attended together at Club Paradox. After watching the performance, a young Yohei, Tsubaki, and Simon are struck by the power of their music. Yohei is ecstatic, fumbling for words to express his excitement, while Simon attempts to explain the technical characteristics that create the quality sound. Tsubaki teases Simon for being a Shura fanboy, and Simon admits that he aspires to be a musician like Shura. Yohei asks him if he's serious, and when he confirms that Simon has the ambition to aim for the top, he passionately declares that he will be the Yasha to Simon's Shura, and that they will aim together to reach Buraikan's level. Simon and Tsubaki chuckle at Yohei's intensity, and Simon wonders aloud to his fiancée if it's alright for him to accept this marriage proposal. Simon accepts, saying that he will be Yohei's Shura if Yohei will be his Yasha, and the 2 of them swear that they will someday stand on Club Paradox's stage together to rival Buraikan. Back in the present, Iori asks what happened to that Tsubaki chick, having gathered that Yohei was attracted to her. When Yohei explains that she was already with Simon, Iori prods him a little, saying that he could have gotten her anyway. But Yohei reiterates that Simon and Tsubaki married shortly after the concert, and that Tsubaki had since died. Iori, recalling too late Yohei's previous comment about visiting her grave, apologizes and stands to leave. In parting, he says that Yohei has grown up well, but that he and Akanyatsura have no intentions of losing at Club Paradox. Yohei waves him off and laughs fondly at the memory of his younger self setting such lofty goals. The second drama follows the Akanyatsura boys' attempts to investigate Ryu. Iori's curiosity was piqued following Ryu's enigmatic comment made towards the ends of the justice drama, and he sent out the younger unit members to dig up some information about him. The boys decide to approach Shiki at school and ask him directly about his strange teammate. Ultimately, Hokusai, Satsuki, Reo, and Shiki are all led on a wild goose chase by the eclectic Ryu, who promises to answer 3 questions if the boys will humor his 3 requests. Shenanigans ensue as the boys are taken along to an arcade to win a natto stirring device from a claw machine, then a curry restaurant to take part in a spicy curry eating challenge. Satsuki, being the hard-working and good kid that he is, gives his best in both of these endeavors, and manages to succeed at great hardship to himself. I legitimately love how well the Cat's Whiskers and Akanyatsura boys all get along, and a bonus of this track is listening to the boys freestyling together as they go about these tasks. To this point, the small bits of information that have been wrestled from Ryu are that Ryu is in fact Ryu, and that he remembers playing with others in a big house with white walls. The final request by Ryu is for them to partake in a test of courage by exploring a building in the slums. Shiki is very anxious entering this part of town, and while Satsuki tries to put his mind at ease by saying that he won't get mugged while the Akanyatsuda boys are there as backup, Shiki loses his composure when Ryu says he sees a ghost in a high-rise building. He begins to hyperventilate, which forces the boys to relocate. Satsuki tries to reassure Shiki that it's alright to be afraid of ghosts, because he's also not a fan of haunted areas, as you can't punch the supernatural. After a bit of freestyling and banter, Shiki finally laughs, and the others are relieved that he's alright. Crisis averted, the members of TCW part ways with the Akanyatsuda boys, who realize suddenly that they didn't manage to gather any of the information that they set out for. Even so, Reo calls Iori to report back. The third track opens at Raimente, where Zen is ordering another whiskey highball. He admits that he's in a mood for drinking today because the boys are out and he has some time to himself. The owner unhelpfully mentions that the boys were in earlier and put their bill on Zen's tab, and so Zen orders himself a plate of gyoza and declares today a cheat day. Sensing that his customer is troubled, the owner asks if something has happened, to which Zen admits that he's worried that he seems unreliable. He says vaguely that there's someone he wants to support, but that this totally hypothetical person tends to take on burdens himself, and doesn't like to open up about them. Zen is frustrated because he's prepared to do anything it takes to support this hypothetical person, even if it means dirtying his hands. The owner replies noncommittally, saying that he might have known someone like that once, but it's been a long time. Just then, Kanata and Nayuta arrive, and Zen calls out to Kanata, insisting that he'll treat them to a meal. As they eat, Kanata grows impatient, as Zen seems to keep asking him about what he should do, and he scolds the man for being so drunk. In response, Zen tells Kanata that he's been thinking about what he said before, about family confiding everything in each other, and he thinks that Kanata has a point. He says that he's feeling conflicted that he and Iori haven't been totally honest with the boys about the effects of phantom metal. And if the boys were to get angry at them or felt used, he wouldn't have a response to give. Kanata reiterates that he doesn't really get what Zen's on about, because he doesn't really care, but he's guessing that this has to do with Zen's earlier complaints about Iori not trusting him enough. Zen is amazed that Kanata figured out who he was talking about, given that he never named Iori directly, and Kanata tells him it was painfully obvious all along. Kanata admits to Zen that what he said before wasn't completely correct. When he asked the boys while out searching for Nayuta, they brushed off his question about family members lying to each other. In fact, they had said that they would believe a lie told by their family if it was meant to protect them. This stirs Zen deeply, and he begins to weep openly to Kanata and Nayuta's disgust. He grips Kanata's hand and thanks him for making him see that family isn't about telling each other everything, but rather accepting everything. Having finished eating, Kanata and Nayuta quickly depart from Raimente, leaving Zen to sober up on his own. Zen notices, however, an untouched plate of gyoza that he was certain that Nayuta had said he'd eaten. Not thinking about it too hard, he happily finishes it off himself. Meanwhile, Iori runs into Hajun, who seems to be getting medical help in a shady part of town. Iori chides him about getting treatment from sketchy sources, but Hajun dismisses him firmly and politely. The two then engage in a conversation that reads like a witty sparring match, both probing the other for information while not revealing their hands. It just so happens that Iori had offered Suiseki Gumi support to Hajun in the interest of rattling the Yon conglomerate, which is in turn supporting the Ultra Trigger company. Though Ultra Trigger had allegedly dissolved after the side effects of phantom metals reached public awareness, Iori insists that they have continued researching behind the scenes, and that they are the ones behind the Paradox Live competition. Hajun replies that the Yon conglomerate wasn't the only one providing financial benefit to Ultra Trigger, and he had seen that the Suiseki Gumi had also provided support in the past. Pleased that Hajun has done his research, Iori points out that all the units competing appear to have a tie to the company in some way. Akanyatsuda through Suiseki Gumi, and Bei through the Yon conglomerate. He points out that the Cat's Whiskers was leveraged into joining through their property buyout, and so is left to assume that Cosmos is also somehow involved. Finally, Hajun excuses himself from the conversation, restating that he has no interest in joining forces with Suiseki Gumi. Before taking his leave, Iori whispers something to him and then walks off, taking the call from Reo about the results of their investigation. The fourth and final track begins with Alan dressing with Anne's help for a new part-time position at Club Candy. His job as waitstaff requires him to be dressed in a black suit and bow tie, and he reluctantly recalls his childhood during which time he performed as a classical violinist, and even garnered recognition through winning international competitions. He never felt passion for that music, though, and it wasn't until he discovered hip-hop that he was able to appreciate the way that music could move people. He makes some admittedly less than stellar comments about Anne wearing a dress and working at a hostess club, but Anne counters him by calling him an idiot and telling him it doesn't matter what he says because they're Club Candy's #1 hostess. At the club, Zen is sobered up and is in a good mood. He cheerfully promises to Iori that he's ready to accept whatever Iori sees fit to give him, to which Iori offers a baffled and non-committal response. He then quickly changes the subject to the investigation carried out by their boys, specifically that he suspects that Ryu isn't just some strange kid after all. Alan fumbles through service, trying to get into the flow of things when Ha-jun arrives. Despite Alan's best efforts to keep his part-time job under wraps, he was foiled by a mysterious someone who passed on the information to the highly amused Ha-jun. Iori is enthused, fueled by his love of shit-stirring, and unveils a complimentary champagne tower for the benefit of the guests. Zen, pressed by Iori's actions, bites his tongue and reminds himself of his commitment to accept him. In their apartment, Nayuta talks to Kanata about how happy he is that Kanata has a good relationship with Zen and with other people beyond just the two of them. He says that Kanata is getting stronger and progressing beyond the point that the two of them have reached. Kanata stubbornly shrugs off the comment, insisting that he and Nayuta will be together forever and that they're the strongest when they're together. Simon returns to the bar from his visit to Tsubaki's grave and learns that Shiki's mental state has worsened since he came back from his after-school shenanigans. Though Simon and Yohei are worried for him, they feel unable to cross certain boundaries between them as individuals. Upstairs, in their shared apartment, Shiki asks Ryu what he thinks of him. Ryu says that he likes Shiki and that they'll be friends forever. Shiki asks if Ryu would still like him if he were a cruel person. He admits that the reason he didn't want to enter that part of the slums wasn't because he was afraid of ghosts, but rather because he was afraid of facing reality. He says that if Ryu really did see a ghost in that building, that it must have been that of his friend who he killed. And that's how the exhibition show dramas end, with a stunning statement from the most unexpected character. The collection of all 4 dramas is an emotional roller coaster with genuinely funny moments, wholesome interactions, nostalgic recollecting, and, well, ominous foreshadowing. This final drama leads right into the drama in the next stage battle, Love, which finally explores Shiki's past trauma and friendship with Yuta. So, I think next week I'd like to make a fun video where I just talk about my own personal opinion about something. That something being my OTP, Iori and Zen, and in a larger scope, the things that I really like about Akanyatsu as a whole. It will be completely self-indulgent, but I would love it if you would still tune in and check it out. Until then, though, heads, it's been fun. I hope you get a chance to listen to the exhibition show albums, because I think that some of the songs are among the best produced by Paradox Live. My all-time favorite Akanyatsu song is Rebellion, for reasons that I can't adequately explain. And Emperor with Kumi Koda is just, it's so good. So check it all out, let me know what your favorite exhibition show song was, and I'll catch you all later, heads.